Hi, this is a group project from Christopher Friedman and Joseph Carlisle, that's me, on managed graduate studies. We decompose, develop plans and projections, and amend programs for Widener University. Actually back here, the Graduate Studies Division at Widener University currently does not receive the appropriate priority or resource allocations within the university. Many of the faculty and administration view Widener primarily as an undergraduate institution, despite the fact in fall of 2013, 52% of the students university-wide were graduate, adult, and law students, and almost 42% of students on the Chester campus were graduate and adult students. An example of why we need to focus on this decomposition is given in the stakeholder presentation. When Jan, who is in charge of career services, is asked a question, she isn't sure exactly where her job responsibilities line up in the decomposition model. Chris and I have decomposed, developed plans and projections, and amend programs to help align end-to-end processes within the organization. We had to make some assumptions when creating this presentation. We don't know the exact location each task is performed. After reviewing the available video and organizational charts applied, we have an idea of who should be specifically accountable for each task, but we're making some assumptions on what their workload currently looks like, and it was difficult to follow everyone's job titles. We feel that in the past, the graduate studies hasn't received the attention it deserves, so this could result in some people taking on additional tasks. We don't know the exact amount of time each task will take, but we'll gather this data as we go along to strengthen our process. Other assumptions we made are the frequency of the processes. Will we be looking to review these processes annually, semi-annually, or on a semester basis? We were also unsure on how long after a proposal for a new class is accepted would it be available to students. This information could help us to determine capacity limits on new programs. Here's the decomposition model for developed plans and budgets for graduate students. The next level of decomposition model is provide projections, coordinate programs, and advocate for programs. Under provide projections, we'd first want to review last year's projections. This step's important because it gives us an idea on how close our projections were last year. It's an important metric for us to measure because it helps tell us how well we're doing the task. Next, we want to review the budget for the current year, then determine the capacity limits and create the projection. Under coordinate programs, we first want to determine if there's a need for change. Determine a need for change, we need to see the skills employers are looking for and determine if our students are graduating with these skills. This is something we should seek the help of career services. They manage employer relationships and have a good idea of skills students may be lacking. They also use data from the Philadelphia Business Journal to help understand industry trends. Under coordinate programs, we'd want to analyze institutional and departmental synergies. In the past, law school enrollment declined because our courses were not meeting our customers' demands. Widener recently launched a dual master's, however, this could have been done proactively. Finally, we want to outline our program. Under advocate for programs, it would begin if we see that there is a change needed. The graduate program director needs to do more advocating to help have the school spend the same amount of resources on the graduate program as they do on the undergraduate program. We want the senior leadership team involved in this proposal, so we'd expect the following people in on this meeting. We want the Senior VP of Academic Affairs and Provost, Chief Information Officer, Senior VP University Advancement, Senior VP Administration and Finance. This would ensure that leadership of the school is serious about the graduate program. Also, we want to present our research and findings to help advocate for the reason of our proposed program. The final step would be determine the outcome. When we compared the on-campus processes to the online processes, we didn't find any difference in the way the decomposition model would work. The process for each program were very similar. For the online degrees, we found that many of the tasks would need to be performed, for the on-campus degree, we found that many of the tasks would need to be performed on campus. While for the online degrees, most of the tasks can be performed in remote locations. An example of this is observing the need for change. Some of this can be done by looking at the course we offer and compare it to the demands of the industry, but some of it will also need to be done in the physical classroom, getting an idea of students' engagement and involvement and how well they're picking up the material. We found that both our MBA and MSW are lacking some real-life experience. Some of our competitors, such as the Temple Fox School of Business and Penn State, offer MBAs that require gaining work experience with the company. The online programs are often geared at attracting people who are already in the workforce, so this step may not be required for them. It is also a benefit for Widener to require students in their online MSW program to perform field research. This helps create better soon-to-be employees and gives the program a better name. The online program benefits from many efficiencies, because most of the work is already being done in the on-campus degrees. There are some differences, but the processes are similar and many of the tasks can be streamlined. When we were comparing Widener's MBA program to some others in the area, we didn't find any big changes in how they do their processes. One difference we found was when comparing to the Temple Fox School of Business. Coordinate and advocating for programs both had similar processes, but we did find some difference in providing projections. In the video, we learned that most of the provide projections work at Widener is done by the deans. We found that Temple has 11 deans who focus just on business graduate studies. The school shows they're committed to their graduate program, and this strong leadership presence is what helps them become number 60 on Forbes. We also found that Temple uses small classrooms and has a low acceptance rate. We felt that their process will be better laid out as determine instructor availability rather than determine capacity limits. Since their acceptance rate is so low, their projections rely more on how many students they can take rather than how many will apply. We did find that Widener offers more concentrations than Temple, but Temple offers more options for obtaining the MBA, such as the online and class hybrid.
All right, thanks, Joe. So here we have a comparison of Widener University and the University of Pennsylvania's MSW programs. Both processes of coordinating programs follow very similar steps. They begin with observing a need for change, followed by analyzing institutional and departmental synergies. Finally, a new program is outlined. Widener and UPenn both require MSW students to take 4 semesters worth of classes focused on field research. This allows students to take their theoretical knowledge that they learn in the classroom and apply it to real-world settings. The key difference between the two universities is their offerings in certificates and dual degrees. For example, Widener offers dual degrees in MSW and Masters in Education with a focus in human sexuality. This allows them to partner with certain service centers and utilize the skills that they learn in that setting. UPenn, on the other hand, provides its students with an ability to dual major in MSW and a JD through their law program. Their students will familiarize themselves with the legal implications of administering social policy. This type of social policy can be implemented in the form of public policy at the federal level, and as well as within the laws that the social service centers will have to adhere to. On the next slide, we have our process impact matrix. Here we illustrate how the processes coincide with the university's value statement, be a leading metropolitan university. The 2 most important features that relate to being a top metropolitan university were performance and innovation. They're outlined here as the objectives. How well a university performs is portrayed in the following value drivers: increasing student enrollment, utilize classroom space, increase job placement rates, and increasing the graduation rates. The value drivers that correspond with innovation were increasing the course offerings, offer interdisciplinary programs, and partner with employers for internship opportunities. Along the y-axis, we have the processes that we felt were most important. They were understanding the previous year's projections, determining student values and interests, evaluating the market needs, and determining capacity limits, proposing new programs, and finally creating the projection. Throughout the whole impact matrix, we assessed the intersection of the value drivers with the process to come up with an overall impact score. On the following slide, this gives us a detailed explanation for how the process matrix was assessed. We classified the core processes as high impact. They were proposing the new classes, evaluating market needs, and determining student values and interests. These processes are quintessential for coordinating and amending programs because they really allows the university to understand both what the market is saying that the students, what skills the students need to have to be able to perform, in the current market, as well as what are the students interested in. The medium impact processes were understanding last year's projections and determining the capacity limits. These processes were overall the management processes. They enabled management to cultivate business plans that revolve around budgeting activities. They're important for maximizing the profitability, but are not the core function or the core processes. They allow, are too many students applying and we need to open up new course offerings to meet the demands? Or do we need to come up with new program ideas because the classroom settings are too small and they're not the classes are no longer profitable? Finally, the lowest impact process was create projections. We felt that the tactility of formulating the final projections served the organization as a support or an enabling process. Really determining the why behind the projection was more of importance. Moving to the next slide. We have some recommendations for the process owners. The first recommendation that we had was partnering with marketing to obtain more statistical data on how their efforts are impacting enrollment numbers. What strategies are working, what demographics do we need to target where we have gaps in oncoming students. Additionally, the crux of business processes should be to provide value to its client base. We can increase this value by offering blended or hybrid classes, just like Penn State and Temple offer for their MBA. It allows students to have the luxury of taking classes online while still meeting with their professors and their other peers in the classroom every other week or so to get the best of both worlds. Additionally, process owners should analyze departmental synergies to remain competitive within the greater Philadelphia area. Leading universities such as UPenn, which is the Ivy League school for this market, offers the JD and MSW program that Widener does not. In order to be the leading metropolitan university, Widener needs to look at coordinating additional joint programs that match the competition. Doing so, University of Pennsylvania, their capacity limits have much more strict guidelines. So while students might have interest in those programs, they have no other market to go to. So if we're able to coordinate programs that offer the law school and the Masters in Social Work schools coming together, we should be able to carve out more market share, and that would allow us to maintain our status as a leading metropolitan university. Here's our references for our presentation, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.